Welcome back. I am Gleesy.
And I'm Al.
And here at Forever I Do, we teach you how to brag.
Build your relationship
according to God.
So we hit up the fellas. We went through question 1 through 7. We gave you your scores. And just remind, so if you didn't see last week, I dropped mine in the comments. But now it is the ladies' turn.
All right. So get a piece of paper, ladies, and then we're going to go through these questions. And what you're going to do is answer honestly how you're feeling now. Like, how would you respond now? Okay? Just remember, this is just where you are now, not where you want to be or intend to be. Okay? So, number 1, the anniversary of your first date is coming up. You have always remembered it and it is important to you, but your partner often forgets. So, A, wait to see if he'll remember. B, drop hints. Or C, remind him.
You better remind me. Like, I am not remembering the anniversary of a first date. I'm just not going to remember that one. So I know for me, I would absolutely need the reminder and the hints. So hints, and tell me, hey, I'm trying to remind you that this week or whatever, this month is the date of our first date. I remember the first date,
I was just
but
about
I
to
don't
ask
remember
you.
when it was. I can give you an estimate, but yeah, you absolutely better tell me, like, hey, let's celebrate our first date this year, like, 'cause it ain't happening.
I don't remember the date, but I definitely remember it was summer, July of like 2002.
Oh my God, I wouldn't remember July. I do remember 2002.
It was a summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember where we went?
To the pavilion.
Yep. Down at Harbor Place. Yep. Which I think does not exist anymore.
It's still down there. They got renovated. It's in bad state, but yeah.
All right. Question number 2. If you have a problem with your husband, with whom will you discuss it first? A, no one. B, a friend or a close relative. Or C, him.
To be the answer, simple in this one, but yeah. Ladies, where are you on that one?
Okay. All right. Number 3. He really hurt your feelings. Do you A, tell him so? B, give him the cold shoulder for a while? Or C, lash out and hurt him back? Ooh.
I think that kind of sounds like that one question. I think it was like number 4 for the guys. Like, that can kind of get into the pay wrong.
Yeah, forget. You forget to pick up something or what she asked you to do.
Yeah, like, again, like, this may be where you are now, but we trying to get you to a place where you can have healthy communication in your relationship.
Yeah.
So again, where you're not just surviving, where your marriage is not on this shaky ground just because emotions are high, but you can go to each other and share how you're feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
That's the only way to thrive.
Okay. Number 4, if something terribly embarrassing happened to you, would you tell your husband about it? A, no. B, maybe. C, probably.
So have you been all 3 in this one? Or?
No, I'm okay telling you the embarrassing stuff that happened to me. I mean, I don't even care anymore. I'm to the point, it's just like, I gotta learn to laugh about it. Like, yes, it might have been embarrassing. Like, I tripped down the steps or, put my foot in my mouth about something. I'm gonna tell you. So you can be like, oh, it's okay.
I probably wouldn't say that. I probably would laugh depending on what it is, but I mean, it's life. So we all have embarrassing moments.
We do. All right. Number 5. Baseball bores you to death, but your husband could discuss it for hours. When the subject comes up, you, A, explain how bored you are and ask him to talk about something else. B, change the subject as soon as possible. Or C, work on showing some interest. I've done all of these.
Yeah,
Except change the subject.
Yeah, and it's definitely not about baseball because baseball is boring to me. Sorry for those baseball fans out there. Lisa actually loves it, so if I started talking about baseball, she probably would join in.
I would be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. Just insert your
Whatever.
man's favorite subject for that baseball subject. Like if they started talking about something they're passionate about, what would you do? How would you respond? Because I know we've had to have conversations about just showing interest. Because when you're dating, ladies, just like fellas may do things like when we're in that dating season, that may stop and you point out to him you used to do this and you used to do that when we're dating. You used to give me flowers. You used to open my door. You used to do this. It's the same thing in the reverse when it comes to ladies. You probably studied football or whatever because you knew he was passionate about it and you wanted to be able to have that conversation with him. Or you learned a little bit more about golf or whatever it is that was his passion, about cars, so that you can have those conversations. And then all of a sudden you get married, you get together, and you're not spending any time doing those things that he's passionate about or that he loves to do. You quick to push him off to his boys and say, just go out with the fellas to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But again, you showed interest in the beginning in those things. If you want to connect with your man, learn about what he's passionate about, and that's the best way to have all the conversations that you two want to have.
Yeah. Okay, so number 6. You had an unsuccessful job interview at lunchtime, and you're very upset. When you see your husband later in the evening, he looks downcast. You A, wait until he's in a better mood to tell him about it. B, tell him you didn't get the job but try to hide your emotional reaction. Or C, begin pouring out your story the moment you see him. This one's a hard one.
I agree, actually. I was thinking the same thing. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
and again, I can think that depends on where you are, and you can be all of those at different moments.
Yep.
But again, answering for where you are right now. But yeah, that's absolutely a tough one.
Yeah. All right. Number 7. For the second time this month, your husband has broken a promise to you, a promise to take you to a play. Do you, A, break a promise you've made to him so he can cease with his life? B, sulk and tell him how inconsiderate he is? Or C, adjust to the letdown and tell him you are annoyed?
Again, I hear some petty answers in that one. But again,
I think I might do. I would probably do a combination of them, but I don't think I get points for the combination.
Yeah, but again, that's one of those ones where you can be in different places. Yeah. But I can understand all but the petty response. The petty response doesn't get you anywhere but into an argument. And the goal is to have healthy dialogue so that you can kind of talk through how you're feeling and they can understand.
Can I be jokingly petty?
I think that depends on your relationship. If that's how that's cool in your relationship and y'all do that to each other sometimes. We all know it's some seriousness in every joke. Yeah. But again, if that's where you are and that's how you kind of lay the foundation before you actually go into an issue, to me that can kind of lighten the mood and not make it so hard.
Remember when you told me you was going to take me to Broadway to see Hamilton?
Yeah, because I definitely ain't say that. But we can watch it on TV again.
Oh, it's so good. All right. So now we're going to go through the scoring of the questions.
Yes. So similar to our last video, the scoring is the same, but let's break it down. So again, for question 1, if you have a letter A for question 1, you're giving yourself 1 point. If you have the letter B, you're giving yourself 2 points. And if you have the letter C, you're giving yourself 3 points. The same applies to question number 2. 1 point for letter A, 2 points for the letter B, and 3 points for the letter C. Skip over number 3. We're going to come back to that. But for the question number 4, 1 point for A, 2 for B, 3 for C. Same for question 5. Jumping over question 6. Number 7, same thing. 1 point for A, 2 points for B, 3 points for the letter C.
Okay.
Now, for questions 3 and 6, we're going in reverse. So 3 points if you have the letter A, 2 points if you have the letter B, and 1 point if you have the letter C. So again, for questions 3 and question 6, 3 for the letter A, 2 for the letter B, and 1 for the letter C. All right, so now where do you fall on the scale?
All right. So if you earn 7 to 11 points, you need some help in learning how to communicate more effectively. You may have a tendency to become defensive and impatient. If you score 12 to 17 points, you are not doing badly, but there are some sensitive spots in your makeup that tend to block communication. And then if you scored 18 to 21 points, you're doing quite well in the area of communication, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, so again, just breaking down that 7 to 11, becoming defensive again, that's just building up that wall because you don't want to hear from your spouse. It says like you may become defensive, and being defensive typically means that you shut down or you're not hearing what your spouse has to say. And we kind of went over activity last week or a couple of weeks ago where we talked about those positive and negative withholds. You want to get to a place where you are a safe space for your spouse. And if you're getting defensive, you're not a safe space. Like your spouse is going to stop sharing less and less and less to the point where they may just be there physically, but they won't be there mentally. They won't be there emotionally. And there's almost nothing worse in a marriage than a man that's emotionally unavailable, unattached. You can't be a good father. You can't be a good husband. You can't be a good anything when you just are shut down emotionally because you don't feel that you have that safe ground. And as a lady, like one of the things that a man is actually expects out of their spouse typically is that they will also create that safe space for them and their children. And if they don't feel that, then they'll shut down while you're becoming defensive.
And then in that 12 to 17 point one, it talked about being good at communication, but you have some sensitive spots that tend to block communication. And I think it's so important that you know what those spots are. Because sometimes you can have these these blocks or miscommunications because of something that has nothing to do with your spouse.
Absolutely.
And these exercises just making you more aware of it so that when it happens, you can say, you know what? This ain't even got nothing to do with you. You know, I'm dealing with this, and that's the reason that this subject, you know, I kind of go off the deep end when this subject comes up. And it just gives you the opportunity to share that with your spouse so that when it does come up, because the subject is going to come up, when it comes up, he can give you grace and you can give yourself a little bit grace too.
Yes, and those touch points are things that you actually need to go and get help for. Like, yes, you can do some healing with your spouse, but they aren't a professional when it comes to that area, unless they are, of course. But again, like, there's nothing wrong with going out and getting counseling so that you can heal some of those touch points, so that when your spouse does touch them, it doesn't cause a wild explosion and things like that because there's a lack of healing in that area. And then the 18 to 21, it just says that you're doing great, but there's always room for improvement. And you should always be trying to improve no matter what. You know, every day, what's this, year 18 for us? There's still areas that we need to improve in. And every day we are striving to make those improvements. And that's where those check-ins come into play. Like, you should be checking in with your spouse to see where can you get better. And if you're already communicating well, all the better, because that means you already opened those lines to where they feel safe to actually say, hey, I really would like if you did this a little bit better and grow a little bit more in that area, and vice versa. All right, ladies, so check out the comments so you can see how I did. Let me see if I'm petty or not. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us in this month's video. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this video. Maybe one of your girlfriends is having some issues with communication, and this could be the foundation for her learning how to better communicate with her husband or her boo thing or whoever. All right? We'll see you guys in our next video. brag on it.
Ain't nobody say you can come down here with us, little girl.
There was an ant.
Oh my goodness! And why you didn't tell your brother? So